What's up, everyone? Tera Roberts here with FantasyPros, bringing you players to cut for Week 6. But before we get started, if you want a chance to win a signed Stefon Diggs Buffalo Bills jersey courtesy of our friends at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel right now, comment below on this video, and that's it. We will be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Now let's go ahead and dive right in with players to cut in deep leagues of 12 teams or more. First up, Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson was on my Week 5 players to cut list in shallow leagues. Congrats to Allen Robinson, who is moving on up to the deep leagues. In Week 5, both Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee caught 7 of 10 targets. Kupp for 125 yards and a touchdown, Higbee for 46 yards. Robinson caught 3 of 5 targets for 12 yards. Tutu Atwell had 1 huge reception for 54 yards, and Ben Skoranek caught 6 of 8 targets for 41 yards. Robinson is just the odd man out, and I don't see where this changes. You can't feel comfortable starting him this week, and then the Rams go on a bye, and the Rams have a rough schedule after that. I explained in my previous Players to Cut video that the Rams offense has major problems and they are struggling to get the ball downfield, and the Rams have been using Robinson for routes that are deeper than Kupp and Higbee. Changes have to be made in the offense overall for Robinson to be successful, and I just don't see that happening anytime soon. DJ Chark. Cutting DJ Chark is just doing a little math. Chark had a solid Week 1, a non-existent Week 2, and a ho-hum Week 3 before going down with an injury. He had a total of 7 receptions on 18 targets. On the opposite end, the first 2 games of the season for Josh Reynolds were low volume, but Weeks 3 through 5, Reynolds had 19 receptions on 28 targets. I think Reynolds showed himself to be the superior option to Chark. And when the Lions return from their bye week, DeAndre Swift will likely return to action, Amon-Ra St. Brown will be healthier, and Jameson Williams is lurking around the corner. If I had to bet on whose production will suffer based off Jared Goff's preferences, I'd put my money on Chark. Julio Jones. The idea of Julio Jones in a high-powered Bucs offense was fun. It was a fantastic dream, but the dream is injured with a torn PCL. Jones is a 33-year-old wide receiver that has dealt with injuries for the past several years, and I think time has just gotten the best of him. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are healthy. Russell Gage is fine to operate as the wide receiver 3. Leonard Fournette is thriving, and Rachaad White is helping out. The Bucs just don't need Jones right now, and there's no real incentive to rush him back. Grab someone on waivers who can actually provide value to your team right now. Tyler Conklin. We expected pass volume to decrease in the Jets offense with Zach Wilson back, and knew something was going to give. Instead of one particular player suffering, all Jets pass catchers have suffered at a fairly even rate. But Tyler Conklin's 0 receptions on 1 target last week just really took the cake. There's certainly hope that things could turn around, but given the general perception of Conklin and the fact that he was barely rostered for the majority of the season, you are safe to drop him to waivers and start seeking matchup-friendly streaming options. The Jets' schedule gets very rough. Perhaps those rough matchups could force Zach Wilson to rely on his tight end a little bit more, but that's just not enough for me to continue rostering Conklin. Josh Palmer. If you can afford to stash Josh Palmer, do it. Despite having 2 bad weeks in a row, I still believe Palmer is a flex option when Keenan Allen is out. Week 4's poor production was injury-related, and it's possible that the injury was still a factor in Week 5. I still believe in the talent, but it will be difficult to start Palmer this week against the Broncos, and Allen could be back this week or next week. If you don't have the space to hold him, you can drop him and always just circle back to him later. Moving on to players to cut in shallow leagues, and first up, Matt Stafford. My sincere apologies to the LA Rams fan base. I truly don't mean to drag your entire team, but at this point, you're probably dragging them too. We might see an improved performance from Matt Stafford against Carolina this week, but I really wanted to include Stafford this week because I do not want you to be fooled by a promising Week 6 game. LA has a bye in Week 7. Are you really willing to hold on to Stafford on a bye and expect a QB1 performance from him after the bye with the following schedule? San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Arizona, New Orleans, Kansas City. I just don't think you should do it. If there are better waiver wire options out there right now, maybe Geno Smith is still left, Jimmy G has a good matchup, and even Daniel Jones against Baltimore offers some upside. You should grab one of those guys. If not, play him this week and cut him immediately on Tuesday and do not look back. Antonio Gibson. I would like to say it was fun while it lasted, but aside from week 1 against Jacksonville, Antonio Gibson has been incredibly underwhelming. There was hope and potential value with Brian Robinson out, and that kept him off the list from being a cut candidate. But in week 5, Robinson returned to action and took no time to remove Gibson from fantasy consideration. The Commanders' backfield stats were as follows. Brian Robinson had 9 carries for 22 yards. J.D. McKissick had 5 receptions on 7 targets for 37 yards. Antonio Gibson had 3 carries for 6 yards and caught 3 of his 4 targets for 33 yards. Gibson barely outsnapped Robinson, who was on a confirmed limited snap count. On top of all of that, Ron Rivera said those dreaded words regarding Gibson this week. Kick return. This isn't getting any better, and he will likely be on the players to cut list in deep leagues next week. The Washington run game is awful. Gibson is a 0 upside handcuff. Elijah Moore. This one hurts. I was very in on Elijah Moore heading into the season. He averaged over 17 points per game in PPR weeks 7 through 13 last year, that time period wedged between his injuries. I really hoped that this would be a 1A, 1B situation with Garrett Wilson. But since Zach Wilson's return to action, pass volume has decreased dramatically, and Corey Davis seems to have Zach Wilson's favor. This is a stark contrast to Joe Flacco, who had an astronomical amount of attempts. But here's the thing. I don't think this is going to change. I don't think that Robert Saleh wants a quarterback throwing 50-plus attempts in a game. He wants a slow, methodical game focused on the run. Zach Wilson will do that for him, and this will continue all season long. Moore is the third option in the receiving core right now, and that doesn't even include the pass-catching backs Breece Hall and Michael Carter. Juju SmithSchuster. I've had pretty much every Kansas City Chiefs receiver on this list, and now it's Juju SmithSchuster's turn. Juju is not lacking in targets, and that's the only thing that has saved him from being on the list in previous weeks. He's had 8 targets in all but 1 game this year, but he is consistently doing nothing with those targets. It's hard to justify rostering someone who has no touchdown equity, and his upside is catching 6 passes. And Kansas City has been very vocal that there will be no alpha receiver in this offense. The offense is Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. The remnants of Tyreek Hill have been spread out over multiple receivers, and none of them are reliable starts. Chase Edmonds. I say this every week, but it's tough to include running backs on the list because most fantasy managers are holding onto anyone with a sliver of hope. But for 2 weeks now, Raheem Mostert has had 15 or more carries. And in week 5 against the Jets, he had 18 carries for 113 yards and a touchdown. 18 carries in a single week is significant when over the past 4 weeks, Edmonds has had a total of 17 carries. Chase Edmonds will never see that type of workload in this offense. Random touchdown opportunities have kept him afloat, but that's not something you can rely on. The prospect of putting a running back into your lineup to not receive a single point is frightening. Edmonds' snap count has greatly reduced every single week. Edmonds is no more than a handcuff that would likely split work with Myles Gaskin. Thanks for watching this video. And remember, if you want a chance to win a signed Stefon Diggs Buffalo Bills jersey courtesy of our friends at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that's it. We will be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize.
Thanks for tuning in to the FantasyPros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.